In Yemen, a humanitarian crisis is getting worse as regional players discuss ways to end the conflict. The fighting on the tip of the Saudi Peninsula continues to escalate. This as Riad offers an incentive to try to end the fighting, which would include a nationwide ceasefire between Iranian-backed rebel Houthis and the Yemeni government. The fighting is forcing hundreds of thousands of people from their homes. Many of the displaced are cut off from food, water, and other daily needs by the fighting. CBN's senior international correspondent George Thomas spoke with the head of the World Food Program, who told him that millions could be at risk in the coming months.
You have described what's happening today in Yemen as catastrophic. You just got back from the country. Tell us the situation there.
George, it really is catastrophic. I mean, 6 years of war just destroying the innocent victims of this conflict. It was just atrocious. It's hard to believe that that's happening in the modern world today.
What do you mean when you say the situation is totally man-made?
It's not a natural disaster. It's nothing but conflict in the worst way possible. And so after 6 years of war, this is a nation of 29, 30 million people. 16 million people don't know where the next meal is coming from. We feed about 13 million, and out of that, 5 million of them are knocking on the door of famine. Literally don't know if they're going to survive. We need about $160 million per month just to avoid famine. And we're running out of funds, and we're running out of fuel.
The UN Secretary General recently said that if you don't feed people, you feed conflict. Talk about the correlation between the two.
We can end hunger around the world. There's no doubt about it in my mind. So when you begin to look at what's happened in the last few years, we had 80 million people 4 years ago marching to the brink of starvation. Pre-COVID, that number had gone from 80 to 135. Post-COVID, that number is now 270 million. But the jump was based upon man-made conflict. And now compounded with COVID, you really have a hunger pandemic, famines of potential biblical proportions as we're facing right now in places like Yemen. And if we don't do something about it, you're going to have at least one of three things. You'll have famine, starvation. 2, you'll have destabilization of nations. 3, you'll have mass migration. And we have a simple solution for starvation. It's called food. When Jesus said, when you didn't do it to the least of me, these you didn't do it to me, I never really appreciated the breadth of what that meant in terms of loving your neighbor until I traveled from country to country to country and seeing the children, the image of God. It's heartbreaking to see this happening when it's primarily man-made, and we have a solution. And so with the wealth that we have, with all the successes of businesses and men and women around the world, we got to love our neighbor. And this is the time now to show that faith. No matter where you are, you can make a difference in the world today.
Alpha, Omega.